If there's one thing I could say that would be a fun thing to do, it would be to start a gaming studio. Because I do actually intrinsically love video games. And I think actually if you apply sort of AI to video games, you could really make it just make incredible video games.
Can Elon Musk save the gaming industry? I know it seems absurd with all of his other businesses and properties out there, with him changing and revolutionizing electric cars and space rockets, but this seems to be something that's a possibility, especially after having a conversation at a Pennsylvania rally where a question came up about the censorship in gaming and what Elon Musk is willing to do to save the gaming industry. And he put out a few choice words saying that, yeah, I'm interested in what will happen if I did have a gaming studio, because he hates what's happening in the gaming environment today when it comes to the overall progressive philosophies that are being pushed out into the industry.
So yeah, I think just generally for content, the problem with like the sort of DEI and the woke mind virus is that it kills the art. It's just like as soon as when you can see something that is forcibly imposed on the story and it's discordant, it destroys the art, and it's hard to enjoy the story. It kicks you out of the story.
Now, after hearing that, it makes sense that maybe Elon Musk may have an idea to actually purchase one of these down and out developers nowadays, because most Western developers are massively failing in the video gaming industry today. And you can see that with the number of layoffs that are happening in gaming that are staggering in comparison to all the other tech layoffs that are happening all across the globe. And I think that is an interesting thing, where we're seeing massive tech layoffs in gaming when the rest of the world is having a massive hiring spree across the world, specifically East Asia, with companies like Nexon and Shift Up that made the first Descendant and Stellar Blade that are making billions of dollars, where they have to hire more people to actually produce more content in the gaming sphere. So it's just showing that there's massive success and popularity of many video games across the world when it's made by Korean, Japanese, and Chinese developers. You can just go and look back at Black Myth Wukong from Game Science, a small studio that made a $1 billion game just with 40 employees. And this is what we're seeing across the globe, and it's the opposite in the Western games development sphere, where we're seeing massive failures everywhere and studios collapsing. Many studios are firing over 10k to 8k employees total overall across the industry. Massive studios are being brought down to their knees based on the product solely alone. And I think that is just showing a lack of creativity, a lack of actually skill in the Western games development sphere in comparison to the Eastern games development sphere, where we have companies reaching their highest highs, making billions of dollars, and actually overrunning the Western games development sphere when it comes to success and profitability. You can even look at some of these small gacha games that are coming out in China that are making billions of dollars in a time where the gaming industry in the Western world is just absolutely collapsing. And that is just showing the staggering difference in quality of content. It's not a customer issue, it's not a pricing issue, it's the quality of content issue. And this is something Tesla, SpaceX deal with directly, and that is right up Elon Musk's alley, to actually deal with a quality issue rather than an actual terminal issue within the industry itself, because the gaming industry is far from terminal. It has all the creative ability there, but it's just not being used properly, specifically in the Western gaming's development sphere, with what we're seeing with the massive drop off in quality with a lot of products that are coming out in this current decade, with this current modern audience trend of making games not for the fans themselves, but making games for political, idealistic philosophies that have nothing to do with gaming. And we have numerous examples of that with Starfield, with Concord, and a whole assortment of other games that have come out that have no artistic credibility to them, that are leading to the massive layoffs. And I think the result that we're overall predicating this on is the lack of quality of content that is coming based on a lot of the consultancy firms with idealistic philosophies that are being engaged in within the industry itself. Of course, you can go back to the influence of Sweet Baby Inc. themselves, who make it their agenda to actually strip away the qualities that we do love in gaming when it comes to quality storytelling, the attractiveness of the characters, the overall focus on fun gameplay. That is not the criteria of a quality game to consultancy firms like like Sweet Baby Inc. They just want to have a game that represents their political ideology. Whether the game is good or not doesn't matter to them, and they would rather have developers that are on their side working with them. So you have this convergence of the consultancy firms and, of course, the developers that have the same ideology, producing content that is lackluster and devoid of the quality of content that we used to get in the gaming industry. This comes down to the ideology that has the whole studio system and overall consultancy firms beholden to them. Eventually we get bad product, and I think that's what we're seeing in the gaming industry today. Bad product, and the overall outcome is the loss of jobs and the closing down of multiple studios. And eventually every game is the same story, handing out the same political ideology. You can see that with Saints Row and a whole host of other games that did come out, Kill the Justice League. They have a similar ideology and make no difference between one game and the other. And I think eventually we come back to that thought process of why would we play a different game if every game is the same, telling the same story, trying to empower the same minority groups, and it makes everything mundane. And this makes it interesting when Elon Musk suggests that he is interested in the gaming industry. Of course, he has a lot on his plate, but his mere interest and the actual dynamics of the gaming industry itself, where it's open to actually have massive success because it is an industry that is growing rapidly. And I think that's the thing he would find interesting, and that he may want to integrate in Tesla, its AI system, or X, or anything else where it may have a viability that he might be actually so focused on providing to a massive audience. And I think that's the possibility where we see here when it comes down to Ubisoft, a company down in the dumps that is mostly to the fault of their own, of producing terrible quality games, low quality content, and following this activist progressive philosophy down to its ultimate end, which is actually bankruptcy and selling your company. And of course, Ubisoft is on track with that, where they're looking to sell their company to Tencent and maybe back to the French family, the Guillemot family that founded the company. So this is a possibility where there's an open sale for a big studio where he can come in and maybe shave off 80 to 90% of the jobs that are useless there and start up a company at its core with large IPs to produce at its back end. So this is an interesting take. I personally feel is a possibility where if the price keeps going lower, I think he might swoop in and take over Ubisoft itself, because essentially they have the IPs and properties. They just need to fire 90% of the staff and focus on actual engineers that love producing content and video games for the gamer. And that is a simple solution for a high profitability sector in the gaming industry. So I see him actually mulling this over, considering the possibility, because the structure is there to make a profit and the market is light in quality content because of this ideological stranglehold that we've been seeing from the Sweet Baby Incs of the world. And I think he can make some headwinds into the industry and actually return it to its actual roots of making quality content for the gamer and nobody else, because that's all we want from gaming itself. And I think this is actual exciting thing if he does get involved with it. Of course, there's a high possibility nothing may come out of this because Elon Musk is just busy with everything else that's happening in the world. He's doing too much, and I'm amazed that he's able to do the amount of things he's doing right now. But I think if he does purchase another gaming studio or something, he doesn't really have to do too much with the gaming studio, because the solution is pretty easy, where you just fire all the activists and you focus on the engineers that actually love the content they're producing. And I think that is an easy fix for anyone in the gaming industry, and you can just leave it to those people to actually produce quality games. He doesn't have to actually make a new hardware system. He doesn't have to make anything new like with SpaceX, like with Tesla. He just needs to sit back and have good games come out by firing the people that don't know how to make good games at the company. And Ubisoft can easily be fixed in this way alone. So I'm excited. I think it's a possibility he might do it just for fun, just to see what happens. And if he does do it, I think it will change the gaming industry instantly, at least for Ubisoft itself. But tell me what you think about the situation. Do you think Elon Musk will get into the gaming industry? I think he will, and maybe it will change a lot of the dynamics that we've been seeing in the Western games development sphere for the past decade or so. But you leave a comment, tell me what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.